Hello and welcome back to Lamentations of the Flame Princess. It's time to get back with our crew, the Lamenters, and find out what happens after they exit the dangerous woods. So as a recap, you guys had ventured forth from a very small hamlet to head out to Lee Castle. And what you were able to discover was that the Lee family was one of those whose ancestors were involved in a military expedition. You still don't know a lot about that expedition, but you do know now that there were at least these 5 families that had members, ancestors who were part of this expedition, and each one of them was given, bequeathed, gifted one of these strange occult candle holders. You were able to discern that these candle holders must be somehow linked to this group, this faction that you have come to learn about, the Red Crescent. Their exact purpose, however, still eludes you. Gizmo was able to do some degree of research and is fairly certain that these candle holders hold some important value in terms of ritual magic, though the specifics are still somewhat unclear. As you guys journeyed north towards Lee Castle, you went through a very dangerous patch of woods. You had an encounter at a bridge where you fended off against a group of rather poorly equipped highwaymen. These basically looked to you like, criminals who were avoiding the law and living in the woods, making their way off of eking some kind of meager living from raiding people, from banditry. You guys successfully fought against these foes, and you defeated them. And, thinking not much more after that, you were able to kind of continue on through the woods. Nightfall came. You guys made a camp. For most of the night, you were fairly uninterrupted, except what came along but a zombie. And that zombie, after putting it down, seemed very clearly to be one of those deceased highwaymen that you had encountered the previous day. You packed up your camp. You got to move on, not waiting around to find out if more were coming, and you made your way through the rest of the wood. And as you emerged where we left off, you guys kind of were coming out of the woods into a more clearer land. And it was kind of open plains with some hills, and far off in the distance, about a half-mile away, you could see the silhouette of the castle on a hill and some kind of little settlement around it. And so that's where we will pick up here with the Lamenters. And you guys discussed pushing on to the town, so that you could kind of get there before you make another break to rest and have breakfast and study your spells and have your prayers and so on. So you guys proceed pretty easily through this space, and as you get closer now, you travel about a quarter mile, so you're about halfway there, and it becomes clearer to you that there's this small little village that's kind of built around this castle. And it looks like there are maybe about 8 buildings outside of the castle walls. One of them clearly looks like some kind of farm compound where there's like a farmhouse and then a few barns and then some fenced in land. And that fenced in land is kind of off to either side of the road as you guys are traveling towards this. And you also see a few other buildings that look like perhaps cottages where people live. And you see a building that looks like perhaps an inn. It's a 2-story building, mostly made of timber, with a stone foundation. And it looks like a larger building, and you figure that might be an inn. But you guys get closer to the village, and you even see some people out in the fields, some people farming, some people working. And as you get even closer, you see that castle that's slightly up the hill from this little town settlement seems to also be, alive and busy. You see some carts and wagons and people on foot and people with pack horses kind of moving to and fro. And this is definitely bigger than the small hamlet that you guys were in before to the south. But you guys start to kind of get into the town now, and you see there's a town well in the center of the town, and you see some people who've kind of congregated around that, people talking. There's few travelers with wagons and whatnot, and you guys kind of come into this sort of small town feel. Where do you go and what do you do?
I say, gentlemen, you can tell a lot about a town based on its ale and meat and its women. I feel I should find the drinks and begin my quest with a fair drink or two.
I can do with breakfast.
Sounds good to me. I'm pretty hungry.
Let's start with breakfast, I think.
Yeah,
it will be better.
As you guys kind of walk towards that two-story building, you notice some of the locals kind of like look at you, not recognizing you, and but they don't seem perturbed, they don't seem triggered or bothered, but just kind of curious. And you get a little closer to that inn, and you notice that a couple things. One, behind the inn is just like kind of a side yard, and then what looks like perhaps a stables. And you in fact see a couple people coming out of there with horses, and there's like a yard around that. You see a few horses grazing, fenced in. The front entrance to the inn has like a roof that overhangs it, and a step up to like a wooden porch. And on that front porch, you see kind of an older man, not particularly well dressed, sort of like a commoner, but he's sitting in like a rocking chair, and he has a pipe and he's smoking, and he sees you, and he stands up and he's like, travelers looking for some lodgings or just some breakfast?
Breakfast for start, and we will see about the rest later.
Yes.
I need a drink.
Come in. He pushes open the door and gestures for you to follow, and you see a very small kind of entranceway with a like a podium, basically like a wooden podium, and there's a ledger book there, and just past that on the wall is a wooden cabinet that seems to be, the doors of which seem to be closed and locked. But he makes a beeline and he turns right into a larger room, which looks like a parlor. There's a stone fireplace on the opposite side of the room, and there are tables kind of situated with chairs all around the room, about 8 tables. And you see some people actually in there who are sitting and eating, some people drinking. There's no bar, but you do see doors to a kitchen. And there's like a couple of young people, like a younger woman and a younger boy, who are kind of very busily kind of, collecting dishes from tables or bringing out food or bringing out drinks. The old man walks over to an open table, and he pulls like a dish rag out of his belt, and he wipes down the table with this rag, and he says, "Please, sit here. My name is Arthur. I am the proprietary of this inn. Welcome to the Rusty Crow."
Thank you, Arthur.
I will send the boy to come over and provide you with some appropriate choices for your dining pleasures. And if you should need a room here at the inn, I do have 2 rooms available still, so come see me after you've had your fill.
Thanks, Arthur.
Thank you very much, sir.
He wipes the towel off, wipes the table off, and he kind of walks back out to his perch on the front porch. And in a couple minutes, the young boy like hurries over and he's like, "Good morning, sirs. May may I bring you something to eat, or are you just having drinks?
Something
Good
for
morning,
eat,
lad.
certainly.
Food around,
Yes.
please. Please around food and drink.
Oh, quite. We have a breakfast that I will bring out just shortly for all of you, and we do have some wine from the castle, as well as several casks of ale, and even my grandfather's mead. If you're interested in honey mead, he makes it himself.
I'll try the mead.
Yes, I'll
Eat
take
for
some
me.
mead myself.
Yes, yes. I'll be back momentarily with your food and your drinks. Thank you, sirs. And he walks off pretty quickly, goes through those doors. You hear clanging and clanging in the kitchen, and as the doors open, a waft of amazing smells hits your palate, and your stomachs are rumbling because you're like, yeah, we had that road food and it was okay, but there's just something about the smell of ham or bacon or whatever they got cooking back there, and it hits you. You guys are kind of sitting there. He comes back around with a round of meads for everyone, and he says, the breakfast will be out in just a moment, gentlemen. And he sets out some plates that are not fancy, just basic basic plates and some utensils. And then he goes back a few minutes later. So you guys are kind of on your own for a few minutes at the table. But you do have your drinks.
Mm-hmm. Well, cheers, fellas.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Morning.
Freya and Roll Good, make one of those search checks, even though you're not actively searching. Just give me a roll and tell me what you got.
Got a 1.
Nice.
Search. It's 4 out of 2, so fail.
Roll Good, you're enjoying this mead. It tastes delicious. And you notice that, as I said, there are some other people seated at other tables. One of the other tables looks like clearly these are like local men who probably live and work in the area and are having breakfast. They are not particularly interesting or well dressed. The other table looks like perhaps people from a larger city. They're dressed a bit more tony. Their clothing is a little bit finer. You notice that their boots do not look like they have any mud on them, as if perhaps they've been traveling in a carriage. And that kind of more nicely dressed group is made up of 2 men and an older woman. The 2 men are very solid looking gentlemen, well groomed. Their hair is like obviously been brushed. Their beards and mustaches are very trim and tidy. They are well dressed, but you also notice that each one of them does have a sword at his hip. The older woman is wearing like an elaborate dress. She has like jewelry. She has several necklaces and bracelets and rings. And she's like having breakfast. It looks like the 2 guys have finished their breakfasts, but they're not really watching her so much as they are watching you guys and the other table and the door. You just kind of notice that they seem to be watching, they seem to be very observant about who's coming and going. And the old lady is just, seems to be enjoying her meal quietly, and every once in a while she'll take a sip of wine from her goblet and then go back to her meal.
Who's sitting next to me?
You guys are at a circular table, so Gizmo's on one side of you and Freya's sitting on the other side.
So I kind of lean into the middle and I say, check out the old lady over there with all the jewelry. I think she's worried that we might be looking to steal something from her.
She actually doesn't seem to pay you guys any business, but the 2 guys who are with her, you notice that like as you guys look up, one of them clearly just kind of sees you, doesn't react particularly one way or the other, but you see his eyes kind of darting around the table looking at you guys.
Shall we make a scene and see if it draws their attention even further?
No.
Come on.
I just
Where's
think
the fun in that?
I just think about Arizon still being.
I just want to make a nice good nod in greeting, like a knowing.
I'm gonna take the pitcher of mead and just down it.
Okay. You do.
And slam it down on the table. Another.
You slam it down, and you notice the older woman kind of looks up and turns and looks at your table and just kind of rolls her eyes and goes back to her breakfast. And at that point, the young man comes out with 2 huge platters. One of the platters is just a mountain of eggs and potatoes, just like with herbs on top of them. And he sets it down and the steam's coming up and your mouth starts watering. The other platter has a loaf of fresh baked bread chopped up into small kind of chunks with like slabs of ham and bacon. So he sets this down in front of you and he says, "Gentlemen, can I get you anything else, sirs? Are you in need of more meat?"
Yes, please.
Another round, please.
Yes, another round.
Yes.
So
He takes the empties and he runs off this time. And he's back in just a minute with a pitcher of mead and more glasses. And he says, "Enjoy your meals, sirs."
Can I have a little question on you? Is there something like a city guard or someone like that around here? Or
Oh, yes.
where could we find them? We have business with them later.
Oh, yes, in the castle, sire. You would head up there. There is an office within the castle walls where the constabulary is based, as well as the militia training grounds. There is also a blacksmith shop inside of the castle walls, and several other craftsmen at work. There is a leather worker as well, and a tailor if you are in need of any repair to your clothing or other such things.
Thank you very much, sir.
And he runs off. So you guys have this huge feast in front of you. You guys start digging in. Igar actually digs in, and you guys are kind of quiet for a minute while you're woofing down food. It's so it's like the best food you've had in days. And you notice as you guys are well into your meal and into your second round, that the older lady at the table kind of finishes up, and the serving girl comes over, and the older lady hands her a handful of coins, and the serving girl's like, you see her, she's like, thank you, and she bows and nods and then walks back away. And the older lady takes like a linen napkin from her own bag and like daintily kind of wipes her mouth and her fingers and folds it and puts it back into her bag. And then she grabs a cane and like starts to stand up, and one of the men like grabs her by the elbow and helps her stand up. And then they start walking out of the inn, and they're kind of walking not right past you, but like 10 feet away from you, towards the door.
I stand up from my chair and bow my head a little bit.
You notice, so all of you guys notice this, because it's not like he's trying to be stealthy, right? So Arizen stands up to bow, but you notice that the minute he started standing up, both of the guys' hands went to their blades. They didn't pull them, but you saw both of them go to reach for their blades.
That was the reaction I was looking for.
And they kind of like, the one guy continues to help the older woman to the door, and the other guy, when you bow, he kind of nods and then he goes back, but he's walking backwards. So he's walking away with his eyes on you guys as they go to the door.
As he does it, I do an eye roll and like, oh my.
So you notice that they kind of make their way out to the door, and they walk off out of sight. So you guys have a little time there. You enjoy the hell out of a fantastic breakfast. Few more cups of mead, and you guys are feeling just 100% better, having rested. And at the conclusion of like the third round of drinks, the boy comes over and he's like, gentlemen, if there's nothing else, then I would be happy to settle your bill with you. It would be 5 silver pieces total for your group.
Pitch in the silver.
Hand him a silver.
Pitch in the silver.
Also,
You
hand
all
in a
toss in the
silver.
silver, I suppose.
Igar leans forward and he holds out 2 silver and he goes, "Hey, who was that old lady that was with the 2 bodyguards?" And the boy like looks and he's like, oh yes, that was Lady Stevens. She's a relative, actually, an aunt of our Lord Lee, and she's been in town now for I want to say perhaps 5 days. But she enjoys coming down to our inn for breakfast. But it's usually the only time we see her. I think she was here one night when we had a traveling performer in town, and she came down to enjoy some of the entertainment. And Igar's like, "Thank you." And he throws in an extra silver. You guys are well fed. You've had drinks. What do you want to do now?
Okay, it's time to deliver a message, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, before we go, I just want to say something. I think we need to be a little bit careful on what kind of details we give to the Lord once we start talking to him. We don't know if we can trust him or not.
Absolutely.
Also,
I agree.
Also,
keep an eye out for that Red Crescent symbol, if you can spot it around here.
Yep.
Yes, we have much to discover in this place.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
You guys walk out. You see the village is busy. You hear people working. You see now that some of the guys that were having breakfast when you guys first went in there, you actually see them at a shop across the way, and they seem to be unloading bags of grain from a farmer's wagon. And this shop looks like perhaps it's like a general store. Looks like it has like an open window. The shutters are open. You see some people inside. You see rows of shelves and a counter. And these guys seem to work there, and they're unloading like sacks of grain.
Do the people appear to be living free or under tyrannical rule? Can we tell?
By all accounts, this looks like a very free village that has sprung up around this castle. It looks like these are people who live in the area, perhaps even live in this village, who come here to work. And so far, you have not seen any military presence or town guard or anything like that. Now, up the road, if you guys continue past this kind of central part of the village, up the road there are a few more, little like cottages that look like, where commoners live. And then the road kind of turns and starts to wind up the hill towards the gate of the castle walls.
Are there any banners on the castle or something like
Yes.
that? And
You see that there's a small wooden like shack that's about 20 feet away from the gate, and there's a flagpole and there are banners waving. You could make an intelligence check to see if that's something that you're familiar with.
A roll under?
Yeah, you want to roll low. The lower the better.
well, I rolled 12, but my intelligence is 16, so it's 4 under.
Okay.
So
Heath, are you smiling because your character is dumb as hell?
I didn't hit it. I didn't hit it. I hit a 6 and I still couldn't figure it out.
All right. So, Gizmo, it looks like the heraldry that you see on the flag seems to be that of this noble family, the Lee family. And what you see is essentially, it looks like the kind of the sigil of a bear surrounded by woods with a castle in the background. And although you're not particularly familiar with like the genealogy of noble families, from what you've gathered, this must be kind of the symbol of their family.
Well, yeah, let's go to the gate, I guess.
Okay.
Else on
All right. You guys start to make your way again, and this part of the path from the village up to the castle is actually a real road. It's like actual cobblestone road. It looks like it's been maintained, and it kind of leads up the hill and it winds. And you follow it up, and you get within about 20 feet. And you see a guard come out of the little wooden shack, and he's just wearing padded armor. He has a shield and a spear and a helmet, and he kind of comes out and he's like, "Good afternoon, gentlemen. How can I help you?"
Good afternoon, sir. We are from the cottage, about around 2 days away. We have message for local lord from there, and we would like to deliver it.
Let me see the seal.
Freya has it, or I have it?
I think you have.
Okay, then I pull out my scroll case and pull out message out of it.
Okay, you show him the seal, and he says, a letter from the magistrate. Well, good. Come right in then, one moment. And you see he goes over to his shack and he rings a little bell that's hanging outside of the shack. Ding, 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 ding. And you hear a sound on the other side of the gate. Sounds like sliding wood on wood. And a few moments later, the gate creaks open, and there's two men inside kind of pushing open the gate. And they are also wearing the same padded armor with the shield and the stitched emblem of the bear with the castle in the woods. And they look on and they're like, "Come in." You guys see inside of the gate is a vibrant and active little micro community. You actually hear the clanging of the work of a blacksmith, and off to one side, kind of inside the wall, you see this workshop where there's a forge, and you see, multiple things going on there. It looks like there's probably at least 3 people working actively in the blacksmith shop. You see at least a dozen different guards inside, kind of walking around inside, in the same kind of padded armor, shield. Some of them have swords, some of them have spears. And you see like a training ground where it looks like there's a bunch of younger, late teen boys who are kind of being trained by an older soldier who's wearing kind of chainmail armor, and he's kind of running them through drills, and they're sparring and stuff. And then there are a few more kind of buildings that look like maybe there's some of the shops that you had heard about. And then you see the castle itself, which is a large stone building. And there is a tower, not on each corner of the building, but there's one corner that has a tower that's like 3 stories tall, but the main building itself is like a 2-story building, but it is probably triple the size of the inn that you guys were just in. So really, really big stone edifice. And you see flanking the front double doors of that castle are 2 more of those banners with the symbol of the bear and the castle and the woods around it. So you guys go in, and one of the 2 guards that had opened the gates for you, he says, head to the main building over there, and he points to the gates, and he says, ask for Magister John. He will assist you with your message. He is the steward of House Lee. And
Thank you, sir.
Well met. Thank you, sir.
yeah, so you guys start kind of walking through, and as you're walking through, beyond the shops, you see another long building that looks like perhaps that is a stable building, and you see horses actually coming in and out with people. So a lot of busy things going on, and you make your way to the main entrance of the castle, and there are two guards there. They nod to you guys, and one of them says, "What's your business here at the castle?"
We are delivering a message. May we speak with Magister Jones?
Yes. One moment. Wait here. And you see he opens one of the two doors. He goes inside. You guys kind of wait there for a few minutes. And then he comes back out and he says, "Gentlemen, deposit your weapons on the wooden shelves right there. Magister John will see you now." And you see there's next to this guard station, there's like these very basic wooden shelves that are kind of open.
I look at Taryn. Well, I suppose it's a blessing that I know how to use these fists as well. I don't like giving up my weapons.
Neither do I, brother. But that's the way we got to do it.
For the cause, I suppose.
Igar takes his bow off and sets his bow and his mace off onto the shelves.
Yeah.
Take my claymore, set it on the block. Take my hand axe, and I set that on the block too.
Take my
I
long
put my
sword
weapons aside also.
as well. My long sword and my shield, and my small axe.
I put everything in the picnic basket and set it aside.
Okay.
I pull out my child toys, sling and dagger, and put it there as well.
After you guys deposit all of your things, the guard nods in approval, and he's like, "Right this way. Follow me, please." And he leads you inside of the castle. And you guys go into this door, and it's a 2-story foyer entranceway, and it's huge. And there are elaborate stairs that go up, flanking the entrance to the second floor. And you see kind of a balcony area with hallways that lead off along the second floor as well. And the first floor, you notice when you walk in, the stone walls are kind of decorated nicely with tapestries that kind of depict different kind of historical scenes. And there are sconces for candles that are kind of embedded, every 20 feet or so into the walls. And you see there are 2 doors, one on each side, and then the hallway that continues about another 20 feet and ends in a set of double doors. And an older gentleman comes out of the first room off to the left. And you could see beyond the open door, it looks like some kind of an office. There's a desk with shelves built into the wall behind with a lot of books, and there's a lot of paperwork on his desk. And he comes out and he says, "You're the couriers?"
Yes.
Come in.
Coming in.
He leads you in, and he sits down at his desk, and he gestures for you to kind of stand. You notice there's no other chairs or furniture, so you're just kind of like standing across from him. And he says, "Bring me the message."
Pull it out, give it to him.
And you see he pulls out a small letter opener and he breaks the seal and he unrolls it and he reads through it and he's like, really? And then he rolls it back up and he goes, "I will bring this to Lord Lee's attention, but I would ask you gentlemen to please wait here a few moments. Perhaps my lord will have some questions. The missive has indicated that you gentlemen were witnesses to some of these terrible occurrences, and there may be some questions that my lord has regarding these matters. So please wait here for a few moments. And he's standing again. He walks out of the office. You hear him walk down the hall. You hear a door open. So you guys are just kind of in his office waiting.
Is there like personal library or something like that?
There is, yeah. There's an extensive library behind him. A lot of the books on the shelves look like ledger books of what you assume probably to be, financial matters maybe, or records of land ownership, or records of different things related to the land and the castle and the properties. But there are some books as well that look like there are a bunch of different kind of history books, and some other books on those shelves as well. Do you actually like peruse the books?
Just covers, like if there are like I assume there are like numbers from when to when, like
there are a number of different kind of history books, regional history. There are some ancestry and genealogy books. You notice a few books that are specific to like some of the wars that have happened in the last centuries.
Yeah, I want to search if there is if the book with from that period with that campaign is still there or not, or if it is there.
Okay. I'm gonna have you make a search roll first.
Two. Shite.
Make an intelligence check and tell me what your roll number is.
One under.
How much?
1 under 15 total.
So you feel like as you're perusing this, it's almost difficult to figure out chronologically where you would find this information. You don't find anything in the short time that you're just kind of briefly looking through, but you feel like if you had more time, or the opportunity to have more time, that you could possibly research here and find out more information about that period, and maybe even about that specific when that expedition happened, and more information about it. As you guys are kind of waiting there, Gizmo's looking through the books. Magister John comes back in, and he sees you and he goes, "My lord will see you in the parlor. Please come with me." And then he walks across the hall, and there's a doorway across the hall, and he opens that doorway, and you guys go in, and you see a very well-appointed parlor room. There's a whole bunch of like upholstered furniture, very like the nicest furniture that you guys have seen. There are more tapestries on the wall, but there are also some paintings on the wall. And there are paintings that look like portrait paintings of perhaps some of the ancestors. There are a few like regal looking women and some regal looking men from different eras. And you even see a large painting on one wall of just the family's symbol. And it's a much more detailed kind of depiction of this strong bear emerging from the woods with a castle in the background. And as you are kind of looking at this setup, you don't see anybody else in the room. And Magister John does not sit down, he's standing. And you guys are all kind of standing in this room. And then a moment later, a door across the way opens up. And you see like a valet or some kind of servant come in, still wearing like a very nice uniform, opens the door, and you see he stands at the side of the door and he says, "Lord Lee." And you see this regal gentleman who looks like he's probably in his 50s. He has kind of like a white beard just chin beard, no mustache, and he has like a crown of white hair, and he's wearing very like elegant brocade tunic with like a white silk shirt underneath it, and you notice he has like a huge gold ring with a signet on it, and he's got like just pristine leather boots and pants, and he kind of strides in, and you notice Magister John like bow
as well.
No, so.
I make a curtsy.
Okay. All of you provide the appropriate deference. The Lord stops and he's like, "Thank you. Be seated, please." And he walks over to a chair, an upholstered chair, and he goes to sit down, and you notice the valet, the footman, like puts a pillow down on the chair and like helps him get situated into the chair. And after he sits, Magister John sits down. You guys all kind of sit down on either couches or chairs, and there's sort of like a big oak circular coffee table kind of between all the furniture. And Lord Lee reaches into his tunic and pulls out the scroll that you guys delivered, and he looks it over and he says, "These are very troubling matters indeed. You gentlemen were assisting with the resolution and discoveries related to these matters. I am led to believe that this is correct." Very well.
Sir.
Very well. Your service to the borough is quite appreciated. Now, I do have some questions regarding these additional matters. Can you please describe to me in greater detail the nature of these soldiers, these armed orcs with whom you had these multiple encounters?
Oh, they seemed with purpose, and I think Arizon knows most about them.
Yes, indeed. These fighters, these orcs, they were finely trained. They had on fancier clothing and weapons. And I know that someone has trained them, and upon further questioning, I was able to get some information. Do you know anything about these orcs at this time? Or is this the first you're hearing about this?
This is quite new to us. We have not received any news of any such incidents, although there have been reports of banditry occurring from time to time within the region, particularly, well, rather further along to the south from where you have come. I'm sure you've heard of such rumors as well, but the very notion of orcs such as those which you have described is quite disturbing to us.
Tell me, are you familiar with the Red Crescent?
I am not. Magister John, what know you of this reference? And you see Magister John say, "My lord, I will have to look into this more. Off the top of my head, I do not recall any organizations bearing that name or symbol. I will need time to research this in the library, my lord." And he bows.
Can we roll for insight to see if we can tell if he's being forthcoming?
You can make a wisdom check.
Oh, my wisdom's not terrible.
Any of you can make a wisdom check.
I'll give it a try.
I hit 4.
Oh, distracted.
I got a 19.
Nope.
No.
7 over.
Ah! I rolled for Igar and I rolled a 20. Rip.
Oh.
Not a good roll.
I rolled 7
in Lamentations. Yeah, you guys feel like there's nothing deceptive going on per se. you notice that the expression on Lord Lee is one of not like annoyance, but just kind of like disappointment. And he's like, well, will you gentlemen be staying in town for a time? I may have a missive, but I would like to allow Magister John to look more into these matters before writing any missives to be delivered. You would, of course, be paid for your services as couriers.
Well, just to give Mr. John some reference, I recommend checking out fairy tales and such stuff, because the most common mention was there. I thought it was absolutely impossible thing. Absolutely out of this world until I checked, till this week, basically, where I met members of this organization.
You notice Magister John say, perhaps you would be interested in assisting me in the research. If you are a learned man and literate, I could use your assistance.
Yeah, I would really appreciate it if I could assist you.
That would help move things along, as this time is of the essence.
Mm-hmm.
And Lord Lee seems satisfied with this accommodation. Very well then, I shall leave you gentlemen, and we shall reconvene on the morrow regarding these matters and my decision as to how they shall be rectified. And he stands, Magister John stands up right away and bows.
Stand up too.
And the Lord kind of looks around at all of you and nods, and then he turns and walks. The valet opens the door for him quickly, and he walks out. So you guys are kind of back just by yourselves in the parlor. Magister John says, well, if there's nothing further, gentlemen, perhaps your name again, sir? Gizmo, was it?
I didn't introduce myself, but yes, I'm Gizmo.
Why don't you come with me, and the rest of you gentlemen should secure a room at the inn outside of the castle, and I will send word from one of the servants when we have had ample time to do this research.
Yes.
Gizmo, will you be all right by yourself?
I don't see any reason why I wouldn't be. Going to the library, there shouldn't be much danger there, or am I wrong, Mr. Magister?
Danger in my office? Don't be ridiculous. I am, after all, the steward of this castle. Now, come. And he stands up, and you guys leave the parlor. Freya and Rollgood make another search check.
I got a 2.
That's 4 out of 2.
Okay. As you're leaving, Rollgood, you see amongst the various decorations in the room and, small statuettes and paintings and tapestries, you see a number of nice, very nice looking antiques. Like there's an old ivory carved pipe that's on a little wooden stand that's on the mantle of the fireplace. And you see like a small little bronze statue on the fireplace. And you also see something else sitting on the fireplace that looks very familiar. In fact, looks like a candle holder. But you guys are leaving the room.
I reach over and grab Taryn and kind of pull him back and say, look, there's a candle holder. Think we could maybe try to sneak that out here?
I'm going to make a roll to see if you notice Magister John stop in the hallway, and he's like, Come, gentlemen. You're excused from the castle.
We're coming.
Maybe another time, bro. Good.
Okay.
We will need it at some point.
At least we know. Good thing you saw it.
You guys then he waits until you're all out of the parlor, and he walks you to the front door and knocks twice on the door from the inside, and one of the guards outside opens the door, and he says, the Lord has concluded his business with these gentlemen. Please escort them to the castle gates. They will be staying in town at the inn. And the soldier nods. He's like, gentlemen, your weapons.
I give my
Retrieve
stuff.
our weapons.
Okay, so you guys all go. Igar goes with you. You gather all of your stuff. And you notice Igar asks one of the guards, he's like, is there a shrine or a temple or a church anywhere in the village? And the guard's like, well, not in the village, but a little bit further up the road, about a quarter mile up the road. There's another small hamlet, and there's a church there. And Igar's like, thank you. So you guys are escorted out of the gates, and you're basically out of the gates, and you are walking back down the cobblestone road, and you kind of arrive back in the village center.
I say to the crew, I don't believe that they will readily part with their artifact. We will have to either find a way to steal it, barter for it, or take it by force.
I would wait on that last option, brother. They have quite a few men at their disposal.
I lost mental note somewhere. Did Gizmo stay back in the castle? Or...
Yes, I will. Yeah. I will cut to you in a minute. So the rest of you guys, where do you go?
To the inn to arrange lodging.
Okay. Yep. So you start walking back to the inn. You get back to the inn. You see old Arthur stand up, and he says, "Been to the castle, have you?" Yes.
It's we're gonna need some rooms.
Right this way, boys. Come. And he gets his cane again. He walks in and goes behind the little podium, and he pulls a key out and opens up the cabinets, and you see like little hooks, and there's 2 keys up there. He says, one, you're missing one. Will he be staying as well?
Yes, he'll be back later shortly.
Then you'll need 2 rooms. That'll be 4 silver total.
Toss in the silver.
Toss the silver.
Me too.
He nods. He gives you the keys. Igar says, "I'm going up to do my prayers, but let me know if you guys go anywhere. I might want to go check out that church later on, but I'll need about an hour."
Okay.
So Igar takes one of the keys. He goes up to a room. What do you guys do?
I think we'll go back to the dining room. And
I go back to the common room.
Yeah.
Okay. You guys go back to the common room, and you're enjoying the common room to yourselves. Nobody else is there right now. It's kind of in that spot right before the lunch rush. So it's pretty quiet. You guys get another round, and you're having drinks. Smash cut back to Gizmo. Gizmo, you were back in the office with Magister John, and he has started pulling out various books, and he hands you these books, and you basically get this armload of books, and then he grabs some more books and a few scrolls that you think are maybe some maps. And once he has an armload and you have an armload, he says, "Come with me to the study." You follow him down the hall this time, and he pushes open one of the doors at the double doors at the end of the hall. And you see the hallway continues, but there are rooms, doors off to each side, like 4 on each side. This is a huge building. And he goes to like the second room on the right, and he opens the door, and you see a library. And this has even more books, but it also has tables, long rectangular, strong oak tables and chairs, and he begins setting things down on the table, and he goes over to the windows and pulls back the curtains, and a bunch of light comes through the windows, and he says, "Yes, now let us begin. I believe that we should perhaps start with some of these history books and see where we go from there." And so what I'm going to have you do is make a series of intelligence checks. And based on the degree to which your intelligence checks are successful, I will reveal information. So make your first check, and I will also roll for Magister John.
Well, that is 12. That should be 4 under. No.
Okay. All right. So your first check is successful. You guys are poring over these history books. Magister John actually has some parchment and an inkwell and a quill, and he's like making notes as you guys are kind of sharing what you've gone over. Make your second roll.
10. That's 6 under.
Okay. Continuing on, you start referencing some maps. You start referencing some of the records of land ownership. Make your third roll.
8. That's 8 under.
Okay. So you discover a lot of stuff, but this takes time. So I'm going to cut back from you because this happens over a process of 3 hours. So back in the tavern, what do you guys do for 3 hours? Now, I'll give you some options. You could tell me what you want to do. You could just fast forward and get shit-faced, or you can tell me what you want to do and get shit-faced, some kind of mix of that. So what would you like to do?
I want to go sit on the porch, get some sun.
Okay.
Get a little thing going.
You sit
Maybe
on the
talk
porch,
to
and
Arthur.
old Arthur is out there with his pipe, and he's happy to have company. There's other rocking chairs out there, and he's drinking some tea, and you have your mead, and he's just chatting with you about, life and anything in particular that you wanted to talk about, or
Just wondering if he heard anything about people getting ambushed on the way to town.
so he regales you with quite a few stories. When he was younger, the region was more prosperous, and there were more farms and noble houses who had regular work for men and women who were willing to put in work. And in the last 20 years or so, a lot of the resources and the wealth in the region have slowly kind of died out as people have moved away, or moved to bigger cities. And a lot of people have been out of work and have struggled, and some of them have resorted to banditry and that kind of thing. He also tells you that the orcs who have raided in the area, a lot of them live further to the west, and he kind of describes this area a little further to the west as sort of like a scrubby land of kind of rocky scrub land, not a lot of trees. The earth is not very fertile. It's not possible to do any kind of agriculture there, and that these orcs have kind of taken over that area, and they kind of spend more time warring amongst themselves and occasionally raiding settlements, but they're just a shy bit above the capacity of a beast, is how he kind of looks at them.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm gonna keep my mouth shut about the orcs in the that we met earlier.
Okay. All right. Arizen, Brolgood, Taryn, what are you guys doing?
Okay, let's
Drinking.
go first.
No,
right,
we're
Kail?
drinking and trying to devise a plan.
I'm drinking, but if there's anyone else coming in, like during like the lunch hour, if there's any women, he'll try and flirt with them a little bit. But
Okay.
Well,
Roll good.
I would like to go outside also and just kind of hang out and see, look who's been walking by and see if there's anyone interesting that might want to talk to.
Okay. Yeah, you guys, you're there in the first hour. It's pretty quiet. You're just kind of to yourselves. And then at around noon, there's a rush of people. And again, this looks like people who, work or live in the town. A lot of them coming in for a quick bite to eat and some ale. But it's busier. There's about, 20 people in the inn. Most of the tables are full. People are laughing, having drinks, eating. And you don't see anyone that really stands out as being perhaps outside of this region. They all look like they're relatively local. And then in the second hour, after the lunch rush, it kind of dissipates again. And at that point, Igar comes back down and he says, "Hey, you guys want to take a walk up the road to check out that church?"
Yes, indeed. Sitting here is making my rump sore.
Okay, so you guys kind of polish off your drinks. You throw a few silver in, and then you head out the door. Freya, you see the rest of the group kind of coming out the door, and Igar says, "We're going to take a walk up the road to check out that church."
I'll come with you. Stretch my legs. And give a greeting to Arthur.
When he says that, Arthur says, "What business do you have up at the church then?" And Igar says, "I'm a priest." And Arthur says, "Oh, well then, good day to you." And you guys kind of start walking up the road to the north. You pass by the castle on your right, and you keep going. And there's a couple more farms kind of, spread out with the farmland, some very basic fences and livestock in the yards. You see, that kind of stuff. And about a half mile up the road, you see another little kind of hamlet, like a cluster of 6 buildings. And again, these look like cottages. There's a stables, there's like a farmhouse and a barn. And then you see this 1-story stone building. And you see that it's clearly some kind of a church. There's a statue of a male form outside of the church. It looks like it's a stone carved statue, and it has a hammer in one hand, and it has what looks like a trident in the other. And you see at the base of this statue is like a wooden bowl, and it looks like people have left offerings. There's some like fruit and like some sheaves of wheat. And you notice that like the fruit's been there for a while because there's like flies and it's kind of looks like it's rotting. But Igar kind of walks up to the door of this building and goes to open the wooden door, and it's locked, and he knocks several times on it. He kind of waits, and the rest of you guys notice that while you're at this building and he's knocking on the doors of this church, you notice a few of the commoners that are kind of across the street. They're kind of like looking over at you strangely, and you see like one of them is like a little commoner girl, and she like kind of walks carefully across the road towards you and stops about 10 feet away. And she's like, "What? Why are you here? What are you trying to do?" And Igar looks at her and is like, "Well, I just wanted to stop and see this church. I'm a priest." And she says, "The church is closed. It hasn't been open in a long time. In 2 years, since I was little." And Igar says, is there no priest here? Who maintains it?" And you see a woman come out of the cottage across the way, and she looks out and she goes, "Rika, come back here. And the little girl turns and she's like, I have to go. And then she runs across the street. And the woman like pulls her by the hand and looks at you guys and like goes inside the house and closes the door.
Well,
Would you like me to break the door open? It's unoccupied. I don't think it would do anyone any harm.
Igar says, no, but maybe Freya or Rollgood could see about that lock.
I could try and pick it.
Okay. You notice that the people that were kind of working out on the street have all gone into their houses.
Yep. That's a 6 out of 2 for tinkering.
Nope. Rollgood.
I'll give it a try. Got a 4.
Yeah, you guys are working on the lock, and it seems like not only is the door locked, but it seems like maybe it's perhaps there's some kind of a deadbolt inside, because there isn't even that much give on the doors. Igar is like, let's take a walk around the building. And you guys kind of go out around the side, and you notice that there are windows. There's 2 windows on the side, but the windows seem to have wood covering them from the inside, like somebody put wood up from the inside.
They've been boarded.
And you know, Igar looks up, and you go around, and there's a black like wrought iron gate, and it's seen some years. It's got like pits from rusting and stuff. It still seems sturdy, but it's old. And you notice that this wrought iron gate goes around and kind of forms a fence of the backyard of this church. And you see headstones. Some of them headstones like tombstones, and some of them just plates in the ground. And even a few that look like they're just made out of simple wood, like wooden markers. But basically you see like what appears to be the church's or the parish graveyard.
Is the ground disturbed?
Interestingly enough, from where you're looking, none of these graves looks very recent. Like they all look like this is old. And as you kind of make your way around this fence completely around, it looks like there's no way to get into the graveyard except through the back door of the church. Now, you do see a back door of the church, and you could hop the fence if you wanted.
Erzin, think you can lift Freya over?
Yes, I do believe I can. 23 for strength check.
Yeah, so you basically lift everybody, help everybody over so nobody gets spiked on the wrought iron fence. And all of you guys kind of manage to get over the fence. And it's very quiet. Like the only thing that you hear in the air is like just literally the wind. There are some trees beyond the fence, like that, and a small wooded area. But now you are inside of the graveyard, and you walk up to the back door of the church.
Try the door.
Yeah, Igar tries the door, and it's also locked.
Maybe this will be easier to pick.
Well, 5 out of 2.
Got a 6.
Force is still an option.
Igar's like, well, if we're going to force this door, I would say it's better to force the back door than the front door. Maybe
I agree.
attract less attention.
Could put this new hand axe to use.
We can fix it as well as when we're done if we need to.
Okay, so you're going to force a door. Roll a d6. Tell me what you got.
3. I have a +3 to door opening.
You start to jack this door, and you feel like you've broken the handle and the lock, but there's something else again from the inside that's barring it.
Let me show you how it's done, brother.
Ah,
I'll give it a shot.
Okay.
That's a 2, and I have a 2 on my open doors.
So you stand back and you run up and jam this door, and it looks like Arizen had broken through enough that you pop this thing so hard that you hear the hinges pop on the inside, and you hear a cracking of wood, but the door still doesn't open. You feel like you're this close to getting this thing open, but it is, for whatever reason, you feel like there's something inside that's barring this door.
together then, brother.
Let's do it. That's a 3.
I got a 5 plus my 3.
You hit it one more time. You hear another crack. The door itself is cracked in the middle. You almost feel like if you hack at it one more time, you might actually just be able to break open enough of the door to reach in and try to move whatever is deadbolting. So as you guys hammer and chop and back into this door, splinters, more of it starts to splinter apart, and you wreck it, and a whole board comes out, and you pull, and you see that there is indeed a huge wooden oak board on the inside that's deadbolted, but now it's kind of rickety. So you reach in and slide it up and throw it out, and you hear the board clang, 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 and finally you can push the door open. And you see that you're in some kind of a back room, and it looks like there's a half flight of stairs leading up and like a curtain. So you feel like you're like maybe behind the altar. There's also stairs going down, stone stairs that go down into what looks like maybe a cellar area. And at the bottom of the stairs going down into the cellar is another wooden oak door. And this wooden oak door has a deadbolt in front of it. And as you guys are kind of in the silence in the aftermath of breaking down the door, you hear some noises. And what you hear coming from that wooden door down at the basement level, you hear scratching. And you hear and that is where we'll end this episode.
I want to fight.
I wanted to kill zombies again.
So bad. I just want to fight one time.
That's it for this episode. Thank you for tuning in, everybody, and we'll see you on the next episode of The Lamenters.
Hello, it's me, Wizzy. I'm back once again to remind you to subscribe and click on the notifications button, and also watch videos that are over there. And then don't forget to tune in to the next episode of whatever show you are just watching, and crafting videos and DM tips and pro tips for vlogging and all sorts of gaming things. And also you could watch Bill eat food and watch other shows featuring Bill. He made me say that because he's a narcissist. Okay, bye.